Well, that took its sweet time to tell me I was live. About 15 seconds. So I've no idea if I am live or not. I'm going to wait for the thumbs up. Oh, but I do see a thumbs up flying gracefully across my screen. Excellent. So hello to everybody who is with us live. I'm not going to reel names off. We'll be here all day. But good to have you back. Right, let's get on. So much to cover. Let me know in the chat if you are with me live. Have you installed the update? Do you have a favourite feature already? Let me know. So it is the March 26 4231 update that we are talking about, or Affinity by Canva 3.1. But some people don't like it called 3.1. That's fine by me. Right, we're broadcasting in HD. Make sure you are watching in HD. There is a flash in the lower right-hand corner, and down there you will be able to choose high definition. While you're down there, there's a like button, and I like the like button, and so does YouTube. So if you find anything useful, give the video a like. If you are new, you have never seen or heard of me before, I am Elaine Giles, long-time Affinity user, since the very first version of Affinity Designer, and that was back in 2014. But been a Serif customer longer than that. Mid-90s, when I was a Windows user. I've been a Mac user for 20 years this year. I've used the Affinity apps every day since they were released. Now, today's session will work on Windows and Mac. Don't want the Mac users to get all excited or upset, but we're going to be having a look at Windows because there are a couple of tiny differences between the Mac and Windows. So you'll be seeing both. Primarily, I'll be working in the Mac though. Right, so what have we got? Well, there's lots of little updates. We're going to work up to what I think is the best update. But there are different ways to update, so I'll show you that. There's changes in the new File Dialog Box, not all of them documented because, you know, hey, why tell us what's going on? Then there's changes to the interface in lots of different places before we come on to features like the glitch data blocks and the pen tool changes, convert to curves, tone brushes, and my personal favourite, the object captions. And like I say, a couple of hidden gotchas, what they didn't tell us. But I noticed instantly. You can't sneak it past me. That's not going to happen. Right, we're also going to have a Q&A. So put your questions in the chat as we go. We will collect them ready for the Q&A at the end of the session. If you can remember, please put a Q at the beginning. It makes it a little easier for Mike to collate them and pass them along. If there's anything that Mike deems to be imminent, you have my full permission, Mike, to interrupt me with a question.
Thank you.
Right, okay then. So you've been warned. We could be stopping for questions along the way, but only if it makes sense given where I actually am. Right, okay, so what's new in Affinity by Canva? Well, as I've said, this is a 3.1 update. Now, if you're on the Mac, updating is really straightforward. Oh, now look, now it's going on about other things. Just ignore that. That shouldn't be happening. This is what happens when I try and run Windows and the Mac at the same time. It gets upset with its little self. Right, so if you're on the Mac and you're updating, it's really simple. You will start your application. It will come up and say, it's an update. Do you want to install it? You will probably have a quick look at it and think, yes, 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 give it to me and all the new features. And that's it. You are done. If you're on Windows, it's a little bit longer than that. But one thing I would recommend, even if you are on the Mac, is whether you do the automatic update or not, download it as well. It wouldn't be the first time that the update was a really, really bad idea. So let me show you what I mean when I say that. So I've got Affinity in the background here, but I'm going to bring my browser on. Right, this is how you would actually download it. Now, if you are a Windows user, it will tell you that there's an update and it will let you download it, but there's no automatic thing going on. You have to download it. So this is the page that you need, affinity.studio. There is then the green button that says Get Affinity. That will scroll you down to here and it will tell you that you need an account. Once you've got your account and you are signed in, you are able to download the full installation files. So as I'm saying, even if you're on a Mac and it will do it automatically for you, it's definitely worth downloading the file anyway. and squirreling it away somewhere in a folder called Affinity 3.1. And then when 3.1 point whatever comes out and breaks something catastrophic for you, you can always go back. So I have a collection of folders that have got in them 3.0, 3.0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and now 3.1. So it's always worth going to this location and downloading it. Once you are logged in, and we've got more information here, haven't we? And so, yeah, go on. When you're at the point that you can download it, if you are downloading for Windows, you need to download the correct version. There are two versions for a standard Intel chip. One they deem to be Enterprise. Now, there isn't actually much of a difference between them, apart from anecdotally, people are saying, oh, such and such is broken, but not if I install the Enterprise version. Now, I don't use either of those versions because I'm on a Mac and my Windows installation is virtual. What I have to do is download the ARM version, which is the version for Apple Silicon. So there are 3 versions for Windows. You need to know which one is your version. And I would say to you, when you've worked out which one you're downloading and why, make a note of it. Because today you will know that. And 3 months from now, when there's another big update, you'll go through the same hoops to work out which one was the one that you had. So make a note of which one it is. I know that for me, it's the ARM version. So that is how you would do that there. Now, if you are on Windows, you will need to close the application and then run the installer. And that will take you through the whole installation process again. Now, as I've just seen in the chat here, you will need an Affinity account to download it. An Affinity account is totally free. There are different types of Affinity account, but ultimately there is a completely free version. If you have a paid for Affinity account, which could be personal to you, it could be that you have access via a business or via education or non-profit. All of those are deemed to be pro accounts and you will get access to additional features if you have a paid for account. Do you need a paid for account? No. To be honest, the features that you have access to may be fantastic in the future, but right now, no, you don't really need them. So a free account is perfectly adequate. That is all you need. You will also need those account credentials once you've downloaded it to actually install it and log into it. And then every week it will check your license to make sure that you're still legit. I know, what can you do? Right, okay, I'm going to move that out of the way and get back into here. One thing that I do need to mention is something that happened when I came to install it, which is the studios. Now, the studios, there's a whole range of studios, which are, think of them as interfaces, saved configurations to your interface. If you used the version 2 and the version 1 applications, the main 3 studios are the studios that used to be the separate applications. And why I'm mentioning them at this point is this is the first update that's given me these messages, which is a newer Pixel Studio version is available. What do you want to do about it? Do you want to override the studio that you've got or make a copy? And this has given some people problems. They don't really know what to do at that point. If you have made changes to the Pixel Studio, now those changes are not catastrophic. They would just be where the panels are or which panels were showing. But you have changed them to your preference and you don't want to lose that, then choose the option to make a copy. If you are not concerned or you haven't made any changes, then you can say overwrite. Now, what I did when I looked at that was I thought, I probably have made changes, but I'm not in the slightest bit bothered. So I chose to overwrite the Pixel Studio one. I thought that was it. But then I got another message. This one was about the Compositing Studio. And again, it was the same thing. Now, if you are uncertain, then choose Make a Copy. And then you are able to go into your Affinity application. And instead of seeing Pixel, you will see Pixel Copy. And you will also have Pixel. So what you can do is you can flick between them, make a comparison, and work out which one you want to keep. If you then decide, well, I'll delete the original one, or the one that's called Pixel, I'll delete it, and you're left with one called Pixel Copy, you can then rename that to Pixel. So nothing here is catastrophic. It's just that we've never seen these messages before. Those are what it looks like on the Mac. On Windows, I got exactly the same message with exactly the same options. It just looked slightly different, but they were the same in terms of what went on. Right, so once we've done that, we get to the new File Dialog Box, and there's a few changes in there. So let's have a look at that. So in here, there is the new File Dialog Box. Right, we have two views in this primarily. We have this view, which is the home view. And that is what you would see if you went in and clicked the home button. We also have the new options. So we can click in there and we get these options. Now, this is one of the very first things that they forgot to mention, which is very good of them. Note the sarcasm. Right. What I'll do first is show you the changes in here. Now, one thing that people wanted was their presets. They wanted to be able to organise their presets. So these are my customised presets. And I have a large landscape book and I have a photo book in A4. Right, what you couldn't do before was reorganise them. Now you can pick them up and organise them, drag them around. I still can't find a way to have folders for my presets, which is what I really wanted. Moving them around, yeah, whatever. But I would have loved the folders to come back. Don't take features away, it never ends well. So you can reorganise them, but that's that. Now I'm going to come back to one thing in here that was the thing they didn't mention. But if we look at the home options where we have home and recent files, then we have access to the learning materials from Canva Serif. No, hang on. It's so Canva Affinity, isn't it now? We also have templates. So these are my templates, and we have favourites. Now, this is one of the changes in here. Before, we were stuck with what we've got, which is they're in this order. That's what you've got. You can't do anything about it. But they have made some changes in the settings, which means that you now can make changes in here. So if you're on the Mac, you will go to Affinity and down to Settings, which will open this. And you now have this home screen. And in here, you have options that if you don't want to see your recent documents, you can turn them off. If you don't want to see your templates, if you haven't got any templates and you don't want that tab there, you can turn it off. So the first thing that you can do in here is actually turn them off. You'll see it doesn't actually apply until you close this and possibly reboot. Let's have a look. It's not going anywhere, is it? All right. So maybe I either have to do that and then go back into it. And let's have a look. Or I'm going to have to reboot. So it looks like it's a reboot that's required for that. Right, let me get back in here though, because I most definitely do want to see my templates. I might deem that my templates are more important than some of the other things. So you can reorder these as well. You can move these around if that's what you want to do. Now, I tend to leave mine as intended, purely because, in fact, I'm thinking those presets, they're down here, aren't they? Right, it's not across the top, it's down there. And I didn't even want you to open that, but never mind. Get back in and have a look. And they've disappeared in there. So that's where we're going to find that. Right, I leave them the same, so my screen looks as near to yours as possible. Otherwise, I get 3,000 questions about why is yours different to mine. So I try and leave it as near normal as possible, as near a clean install as you can get. But you can now decide to make some changes in here. Right, now, the one thing that they didn't mention that I think is really important, and I thought was a great change. One thing I need to mention. In there, when we went into that, the one thing that you can't turn off is the Learning Centre. You're stuck with that whether you like it or not. Right, but in here, when you are in the news section, we had an option, and that option has disappeared. The option used to be there. Who can tell me in the chat what that was? there was an option there, and it was really important because it applied to everything that was in this scrollable list. And it's disappeared. Now, it's not vanished totally, they put it in a better place. So if we just look at this, these are the page sizes for RGB and CMYK, and it makes sense with A4, A5, A3 that you probably want it vertical. You probably want that in portrait. As I carry on down here, look at these canvases though, and look at these photos. And when we get down to the video and web that I use a lot, particularly this 1080 one, these are not portrait, they're landscape. We didn't used to be able to do that because the missing option from the pink box is moved. It is now over here. That is a big update. They didn't even bother to mention it. It would have been nice, wouldn't it? You just tell us what's going on. You can now set the orientation of a preset on a granular basis in here. It does make sense to me that my photos and my video and web are landscape while the other is portrait. That makes sense to me. So I think that's a nice update. Your mileage may vary, but that's what they've done with it. That's where you will find it. So before, when you made a change, it changed all of the presets. Now it's granular. It works on a per preset basis. But like I say, didn't bother to mention that in the release notes. Got to find it yourself. Right, so let's move from there. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a new file. So let's have a 1080 file like that. And we will head back in here because they've also made some changes to the tabs. Now, this was a change they made in version 3 when it came out brand new. Not everybody welcomed it. And they've had a change of heart. In other words, they're listening to you. They know that they were wrong. Right, let's go in here and have a look. I've got one file open. And previously, when I had one file open in version 3, I did not have this tab bar at the top. They deemed it totally unnecessary. But this could be giving you information, and that is the issue. You'll notice it's back. By default, even with a single file open, you now have the tab at the top. For reasons best known to themselves, they've also left the file name and the view at the bottom as well, which I don't like it down there. I really don't like it there. Right, so that's what they've done with that. But if you preferred it the way it was, or you want control over this, then you're going to need to go into your settings again. And in here somewhere, we've got the option to see that when you have one single document open or not. You will find that in here somewhere. Where's it disappeared to? Oh, there's so many things in here, and I've got to go back into here in a minute anyway. But you will find it in here that you now get to choose with a single file open whether you see that or not. Now, is that hugely important? Most people will probably ignore it. I think it is important. This is why. It's more than that. Hang on a minute. That's not where we should be. Tab changes is where I want to be. Or do I? Oh, where's it disappeared to? Well, let's go back into the tab changes because that's what I'm looking at. Right. If you now right-click on this tab, you can see that you can set your option here to hide the tabs entirely with one document open. Right, I want to see that tab. Your mileage may vary. That is where you can turn it off. It's one place you can turn it off. You can choose what you show on this tab. So you can show the zoom, you could show the colour format, and notice it's cumulative. You could show the document size. How useful that's going to be is going to be determined by the size of your screen and how many files you've got open. But you at least now get to choose it. Then, of course, you've got the ability to close it, to close all of them, or to close the other tabs. You also have the option here to float that tab. So I'm going to make another one there. So we've got two. And if I choose float, that will open that in a window that is separated from the rest of the interface. So you can now float that as well. I don't see that I'm going to leave that on all the time. But I like the fact that the file name is there, if that's what I need to see. So you can now not only choose to have a tab when there's only a single file open, but you can choose what information is displayed. So really what they're doing is that they're bringing back some of the features that you may have expected to be there from day one. Talking of which, right, light mode and accent colour. If you're on a Mac, do not get excited. Light mode is there, accent colour less so. But let's have a look at it. So, obviously I'm in dark mode. I've always used these apps in dark mode, which I find quite surprising because when I use Creative Cloud, it's in light mode. There's something going on in my head. Let me know in the chat if you're with me live. Are you team light or team dark? So this is the dark mode. If we go into the user interface settings, we did have the ability in the previous 3 versions, or the version 3 versions, as it were, to change the grey level and things like that. What was actually missing was this UI style at the bottom, which was dark, light, or default to what the OS is using. And you can just click light, it instantly changes to light mode. I will admit the screen looks bigger. But apart from that, I'm a dark mode girl, I think. One thing they haven't brought... Oh, we're 50-50 in the chat, apparently. Team dark, team light. Oh, well, at least we now have an option. And we do. Now, it wouldn't be the first time that they've made some changes and things don't work 100%. If you find that something doesn't look right in light mode, because light mode is the newer one, do tell them. You know, in the past, I had an option that was to chain 2 things together. That if I change one in a ratio, if I change one value, I want the other to change. In dark mode, there was a link icon, and in light mode, missing in action. So if there's something that's missing, do tell them, because that's the only way you're going to get it put back. The one thing they didn't add back, and oh, I wish they had added this back, is the coloured icons. The icons do stand out very nicely in light mode, but there's no colour with them, which I think is unfortunate. I think they were far easier to work with. And also in terms of accessibility requirements for people. Not only is it faster for me to glance that the table icon's orange, it's just for people who may have shape dysmorphia or something. Just add the colours back and make it an option. Make it an option, but it's not there, unfortunately. So that is what you can do on the Mac. Now, it does say here, if you change certain things like the tooltip delay, you're going to need a restart. But luckily for the UI style, you don't. So it's just going to depend on what you prefer. I do think the assets panel looks better in this view. I do think that does look better. But I'm still dark, so I'm going to switch it back to dark. Right. Now, if you are on Windows, you get an extra option. Yeah, that's not on, is it? Right, let me show you that. So this is Affinity on Windows 11. You can see you've got exactly the same options that you have on the Mac. They are very, very similar. Basically, where there are changes or differences between the 2 instances, Mac and Windows, it's going to be based on what the OS can support. So Windows has a feature that the Mac also has, but on the Mac, you have to let the system manage it. And on Windows, you get to manage it. You know, because Tim Cook likes to manage everything on a Mac. It's a wonder you've got more keys on the keyboard. Put it like that. But in here, you have an extra option. So I'm going to come out of there. The other thing is that it's not that to get to your settings, it's edit settings, which is totally different. But when you get into the settings are very similar. And this is the user interface setting in here. And you can see that we have dark and we have light. We don't have the option to follow the OS. That's where the Mac takes control, and the Mac decides whether you are in light mode or dark mode. And what the option in Affinity does is follow that. We don't have that in the Windows one, but you can switch to light mode. And it looks identical to the Mac version. Now, the extra feature that you've got is this accent colour underneath it. I don't know in here, considering I'm in the UK and this is a UK installation, why there's no U in colour. But I'll leave that alone for the moment. But an accent colour is this blue. So this is the default accent colour that's controlled on the Mac by macOS. But in here, you get to choose whether it's the default colour, which is blue, whether it's the system colour that you have specified at system level, which is a darker blue. In my case, I've not made any changes to this. I leave Windows alone as long as it leaves me alone. But you've got this manual option. And in the manual option, it also brings up this extra option for custom colour. And in here, you can click on this and then choose a custom colour, so you can move it along. As soon as if you're moving it like that, so I'm moving it towards pink, nothing happens until I let go. When I let go, it changes it. Now, the reason that I'd be careful with this is, depending on what you actually change it to, it's not as distinct as it could be, to the point that you might not even be able to read what's in the interface. So this is at 122, but if I take it this way, I can no longer really read that says user interface. So I would be very careful with this. It might seem like a good idea to have it that colour. Actually, it's probably not the best idea you've ever had. So that one was it this one that was 122? And I think it was that way a bit, wasn't it? Not like that. So I would only change that if there's a compelling reason to do so. Because while it might look all right in this view, you may find 15 dialog boxes later that something doesn't look right, you can't read it properly, and you've actually forgotten that you changed it. But it is an option, it is now available there. If you want to change it on the Mac, you're going to have to change it at system level for everything. But in Windows, that's what you've got, that's what it looks like. And let's go back to dark mode like that. I think at that point I might be done with Windows, but I'll leave it there just in case. Right, what do I need next? Okay, I think we're going to actually get into the features at this point, which is, we're starting off with what I'll admit didn't excite me much. Does glitch thing excite you? It's a distortion effect. Have you ever used glitch? I've seen it, but it only seems to me to be relevant for like magazines for millennials or alphas. And I personally can't see the benefit of it, but let me know. Let me know. So let's go in and actually have a look at that. So I think I've done with Windows at that point. So what I'm going to do is I've got a couple of files. I've got one that doesn't show it too well, and I've got one that shows it a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is open up a file. And I think we can get rid of that one, can't we? Let's do that. Right, so I've got this file, and let's say that I want to add glitch to it. The glitch has always been there. So if we go into Pixel, you've got filters, and under that you've got distort, and in there you've got, I don't think I've selected things here. Let's get into the right place. Distort, and you've got all of these options. And glitch is one of them, and glitch has been there a while. Now that's one way to apply glitch, but there is another better way, which is a live filter layer, which means that you can go back and edit it. But the options are very, very similar. So I'm going to distort, and I have glitch. Okay, so I'm going to add that. That gives us this dialog box, which is called Live Glitch. Now, what is new in here is not the whole dialog box. It is a specific type of glitch, which is data blocks. So I'll enable that. Nothing happens at the moment. That's because all of these are set to 0. So although it's applying at the moment, and we can see the icon is on here, it's not actually making any difference to it. You need to change these options for that. Now, first of all, glitch has an option for preserving the alpha. If you don't preserve the alpha, you can get areas around the edge of the image that don't look right. So I'll preserve the alpha, and hopefully it will remain looking all right. Now I'm going to up the block size, and as I start upping the block size, you can see what this glitch data blocks actually does. It puts squares over your image of various sizes. So you can see at the bottom against these buildings, that actually is well, it's not as bad an effect as I've sometimes seen. And this looks like it's got blocks on top of it. And exactly that is what it is. It is not pixelating. If you actually look, all of the lines we have on here, you can still see them. It's putting a glitch effect over the top of it. I would say this is an edge case. Why did they waste time doing this when we're still waiting for other features? I have no idea. I do think it's an edge case. I don't think anybody is using this on a daily basis unless they're writing for a millennial magazine. But that's what you've got. And you can make these blocks much, much bigger like this. And you can see what's happening. They are sitting on top of the image. Now, I would say for this image, you probably want it about this level to actually see it. That is applying the glitch. Now, the horizontal displacement will move the squares left and right, and this is when you start to get black edges on it, which, if you weren't preserving the alpha, you would see like that. And you've got vertical displacement as well, so you can move them around. Let me know in the chat. Are you ever going to be using this for real? Oh, I'm only ever going to demo it, trust me. And the last option that I've got in here is colour, which I can take it right back. And it's the glitch that is now virtually black and white. The colour of the image remains, but the glitch is much more monochromatic. But I can take this up the other way and we can have it glowing neon, which, to be honest, for the effect is quite effective if that's what you want. But who's going to be using it? I'm loving these comments. I can actually see some of these comments, and I'm loving Pete Lax's, but I'm not. I can't read it out, Pete. I don't want to upset YouTube, but I agree with you. It's just bizarre to me. The only time I've seen it used in a publication is like a music magazine where they want to be edgy, ultimately edgy. Now, that's what it looks like with an image like that. I didn't think if it was a little bit less in your face, and a little less in terms of displacement, I could possibly live with that. Not that I'd ever want to do it, but I could live with it. Right, let me choose another image though. And this second image will show you, I mean, it's not the right image to use it with, trust me. We need to name this animal. Put some names in the chat. Right, if I apply the same thing here, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Go to Pixel and Live Filter Layer. Distort and glitch. And then all the way down here, we want to preserve the alpha and we're looking at data blocks. Right, nothing applies until we change this. And in this one, it does look like pixelation, but it really isn't pixelation. If you zoom in, you can see that it's actually, the image is still there behind the glitch. Now, if you were to apply a pixelation filter, the whole thing would be pixelated. This is not pixelated. It's just applying the data blocks over the top of it. But again, why would you do that? There we go. We've got Bessie. Right, I'm liking Bessie. Let's go with Bessie. Poor Bessie. Why would you do that? The other features still apply, so we can dial back the colour. We can dial up the colour. Oh, dear me. Why? This is a problem looking... This is a solution looking for a problem, is what I would say with that. But you know, you can do it vertical, you can do it horizontal. Not happening, and now Bessie's not happy. Oh, we got Daisy as well. Gladys. Well, let's have all the names, I think. Bessie, Gladys and Daisy. There we go. But I just would never use that. But if you would, then great news. They've added it. Well, fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. I've got this as number one on the list of things I'll never use. But there you go. I think actually, no, I'm going to save these just to prove how bad they are. Right, let's put that in the root folder there, and we'll do the same with that. I think that one looked a little bit better, but we'll do that, and we'll get rid of those. Let's get on to something you might actually be using and could be important to you, which is the pen tool. Let me know in the chat, do you use the pen tool? I do use the pen tool, but I don't use it in a standard way. I use it in my own little way. And what they've done is they've made a few changes to how the pen tool works. The rationale for these changes looks like it's to make it more functional at the point that you are using it. So let's go in and have a look at that. I'm liking that comment. It wouldn't work for a church bulletin. No. Although we do like playing with the congregants' minds on occasion, particularly when the clocks go backwards or forwards. But no, I agree with you. It's not going to work. In fact, I literally, apart from a music magazine or like a youth culture magazine, I can't see when that would work. Right, so the pen tool. All right, let's get a new document in here. It doesn't matter which. I'm going into the pen thing, and we've got the pen tool. Right, so we're in vector mode, and I've got the pen tool. The pen tool exists in the other modes. It's just it's more easily accessible if you are in vector mode. Now, the idea with the pen tool is that you click and you move. You've got this sort of elastic thing holding it on, and you can click, release, click, release, and you can start drawing with it. And what you will get is a vector shape. So if I carry on doing this, I've got a very dodgy vector shape. And that last click had a circle on it and it connected it. And that means that it's a solid shape. So if I go to my swatches and I choose, let's have a bright colour in here, it's a solid shape. And with the pen tool, you have the pen tool and you have the node tool. And the node tool, these two work in conjunction with each other. The node tool is A, the pen tool is P. If you switch to node view, you can move these. So you've got the node tool active and you can move the nodes. You can also, with this, change the node type. So you can make them curved nodes, change the shape entirely. Right, so do you, I was going to say, do you use this? Do you draw them? Or do you do what I do, which is get a basic shape and then tweak it to match it? That's what I do. But what they've done in here, let's get rid, you can get rid of nodes as well. Let's get rid of the entire shape and go back in. So now what we've got, if I'm drawing with the pen tool, and I don't have to do this start-stop thing that I'm doing, which is click, release, you can, in here, move, and I'm not releasing it, and what's happening is it's allowing me to change that curve while I'm drawing. Now, I've got a fill on this, so it's not looking great, but what I will do, I will get rid of that, and I'll take the fill out of it, and that way we're only concentrating on the path of it. So you can do the houndstooth look, or you can hold and drag and it will curve around. And you can then draw and curve that round and so forth. Now, while you're drawing this, you may make a point. You may click and make a point. You can press escape on that. You've always been able to do that. But I'm here, and now you have an option to hit P. So it does pretty much what the escape does. It's just a new way of doing it. Now, any of these nodes, if I alt-click on any of them or option-click, you can see that the little symbol next to the pen tool changes. And what I can do there, or I should be able to do, right, that is deleting it. I should be able to make one of these a sharp node, like that. So if I've got a curved node, I can go back here. I don't have to let go. I don't have to change the tools. You know, I could carry on drawing here, right? It would let me carry on drawing. But I realise that this node needs to be a sharp node. I can hover over it, hold the Option or Alt key, and click, and it will turn it into a sharp point. You can also Alt and drag a node. That converts it into a sharp node, and it mirrors the control handles. So this one here, if I do that, you can see as I'm pulling it, it's mirroring those handles. So that is something else you can do. You can also, with this, shift click on any node to add a sharp node. So you could click there and it would add a sharp node. So you can do that as well. You can also in here, so let's go to this one. You'll notice that there is like a minus next to it. That is going to allow me to delete that. So if you've got more nodes than you want, you can just click and delete it. So those are the changes that they've made to that. Now, rubber band mode for previewing new curves is enabled by default. So you can see the new curve as I'm drawing it. And all of the pen tool's general settings are going to be remembered across the documents and the sessions. You've also got the option to join curves in the vector menu. So those are the changes to that. I don't think that's going to impact my usage of it. I'm used to working round what doesn't work for me. But if you've been driven mad by certain things, and those are the changes that they've made. So let me have a look at this. How many of you using the pen tool? Do we have a lot using the pen tool or not, Mike? Quite a few of you using that. Guess it depends on your workflow. If you are working a lot with Vector, then you probably will use the pen tool. I just have a pretty unique way of working with the pen tool that's easier for me, which I'll show you the results of when we come to the next bit. So that is the pen tool and the changes to the pen tool. We can get rid of that, and the next thing to look at is convert to curves. Now, the convert to curves is where you have a selection that you've made, and you want to turn that selection into curves. Now, the primary use in their explanation of this was to make like a silhouette of something. But there are other uses for it. How good it is, well, you'll see. Let's just say you'll see. Okay, so let's go and have a look at that though. Right, so I do have an image in here. I'm going to start off with one that's fairly simple, right, which is this. So it is a photograph of the top of an Apple computer. Now, the reason I've picked this is that should be a fairly easy selection. So the first step in making this work is to make a selection, in this case, of the apple. Now, you can use any selection method you like, any at all. So you've got the marquee tools if you are old school like me, if you've been doing this since in my case, the late 80s on a Commodore Amiga, then I know how to use the marquee tools and get a good result. The latest and greatest tools, of course, for selection are the object selection, and you've now got flood selection and selection brush tools and all kinds of things. It doesn't matter for this which tool you use. Use whatever you are comfortable with or whatever will give you the best selection. Now, you would imagine that the object selection tool would make a good job. Apart from the fact it takes all day to think about it, let's give it a chance. Where you go. Right? No. Didn't do a great job there, did it? It's not even, I'm going to have to move this around for it to work out what I want. And at that point, it's selecting the whole thing. If I move it into here, that's not bad. So I could click and it would select that. And that is not a bad selection. My other options for that. Now, what I would do at this point is make sure that I've got the move tool and I would zoom in and have a look at this. Now you can see it's selected all kinds of stuff outside of it. And this is the problem with this tool. It's not going to give, it looks great at that point, but I don't think it's going to give you as good a selection as maybe you're hoping for. And the quality of the selection is going to impact greatly the quality of the vector that you end up with. So that was one way to do it. So what we'll do is with that selected, what we can do is go into Vector and choose Convert to Curves. So at this stage, I have not edited that at all. I could edit it if I wanted to, but I'm just going to trust it and let it do it. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, it looks okay when you zoomed out. The issue is when you start to zoom in and you start to realise that it's got too many nodes, basically. If I activate the node tool, you can think, what's this one doing? It's not really needed, is it? It's just making it look untidy. So I can go into here and try and tidy them up a bit. In this case, I'd probably delete that one and then do something with this to smooth it out a bit. But basically, I don't think you should have to do that. I think the point of this is that it will do it for you. And like I said, it's going to depend on the quality of the selection. And obviously, this selection, not the best. Now, this is just as bad, although I have seen worse. Trust me on this, I've seen worse than that, where the selection is such that it's got maybe 30 or 40 points on it, and it looks far too jagged on the edges. So it's not bad, but it's certainly not as good as it could be and as good as maybe you're hoping for. And that's going to depend then on what you're actually doing with it as to whether it's good enough or not. So if what you wanted was to draw around something, let's turn off the image in the back and make that into a logo for yourself. If you look at that, you can think, oh, it's not great. It's not great on the left. And it's not the fault, maybe, of the tool. It's the fact that how good was the selection. Now, it would probably take longer to tidy that up than it would to manually do it with the pen tool. But I'm just showing you what's available here. So we'll delete, in fact, no, we'll leave that one there and we'll say that that was the object selection. Right, so we'll hide it and we'll go back to the background and we'll select the background in a different way and see if that makes a difference. So in our selection tools that we've got in here, we've got the flood select. I usually do quite well with flood select. It's not bad at all. Now, initially, I think that was set to about 8%. So I decided to do a selection, and that isn't bad. It's on the edge of this, we've got grey, and it's whether it would select that grey or not, and that isn't bad. I think that is a better selection than the select object thing. Then, of course, I need this as well. So I either need to change the mode to add, or I need to hold the shift key down and make a selection of that. And again, it's done a really good job in terms of it has selected, it's included this bit, but the edge of it here, not great at all. Now you've got two options. You either at this stage decide that you will manually go in and sort that. You will select it pixel by pixel, or leave it until you've created the vector from it and then edit the points of the vector. I'm going to leave that alone so we can do a comparison and see how it turns out. So let's make sure we can see all of that and then back to the convert to curves option. I think that is better. So the quality of this is going to depend on the quality of the selection. That is ultimately what we're talking about here. However, if we zoom in, we still have problems. It's still rather dodgy around the edge. It's not bad, but it's not perfect. And with our node selection, let's have a look here. It actually did a better job of that than I expected. Although this should probably be pointed, but at least it didn't go down to the level of having 1,000,000 points. So not bad, no t-shirt though. Look at this. So your mileage may vary with that. It's going to depend on what you actually do with it. I'm going to show you an example with Bessie Daisy Gladys, what we can do with that and see how it turns out. But that's what we got with that. Now, what I did beforehand, in rehearsals, I have complete. And this was what I did with my convert to curves. That was what I ended up with. And again, not great, depended on the selection. So you can see, my first attempt, not great. But for a comparison, what I then did was drew around it myself. And so you can see here, this one says manual path. And that's exactly what it was. That was a manual path that I drew. If we look at that, it's absolutely perfect at the edges because it only has the nodes it absolutely needs. I have no idea why I put a black border around that, but never mind. Let's get it back to yellow and get rid of the border. But you can see there, that is absolutely perfect. And there's only 4 nodes on it. There is the sharp node at either end and then one either side for the curve. But that was drawn by hand. So if you're looking at this for a quick and dirty job, you're fine. If you are looking at this and you are prepared to edit it, you're probably going to be fine. But if you're looking for something that is usable, maybe good enough for a client or a finished artwork, learn to use the pen tool or expect to have to sit and fix it for a long time. Now, that was that file. So let me save that and let's get to the other file, which is not that one. It is that one. Right, so let's open this up. Right, here she is. Right. Now, the reason that I tried with this one was the last one was really easy. So I thought, if it's making that much of a mess with one that's really quite simple, how would it cope here? And would I be able to use what I'm given at the end of it, the actual curve at the end of it? Would I be able to use it or not? Right, so knowing what we know, which is the quality of the result is going to depend on the quality of the selection, how we're doing with the selection. So I think I started off like this, and I needed to add to this. So I'm just drawing over this and I'm adding to it as we go. And you can see the problem, it starts leaking out the side. You can do the dance with your keys and remove that, but it's going to depend on how good the selection is. So that's a problem before we start. Right, let's have a look what it manages with the object selection. Does it do a reasonable job or not? Not bad at all. So that's a bit of an improvement, I would say. I can click once and it's selected it. Is it perfect? No, it's not. It doesn't look bad. It's going to get confused around these bits here. But I'm in add mode at the top, so I can just click that and say I want that selected as well. So include it. And then I can go across here, have a look what was missing over here. And it was that bit again and that bit, and just add it in. You'll notice at the edges here, we are not going to get the little bits of fur at the edges. No way are we. And in terms of what the vector mask is going to look like, that's not bad up here, but it's going to have a lot more points than it would do if we were drawing it ourselves. But we have a selection. Houston, we have a selection that we can work with. So going up to vector and convert to curves, and it will have a think about it, and now we have a shape. So if you wanted that in your logo, then you are good to go. Bessie's logo. Right, let's have a look what we've got. We'll turn off the background so we can see the edges, and we will make sure that this is something we can see. And you can see how many points you've got on that. Now that's great if you want it to have this kind of detail in it. Where it's not so great is where you've got a situation like this, where it was probably right, but it isn't going to look great with all of this going on. You can double click this and you can start editing that. You know, you can add extra points. I could add a point here and pull it back like that. Maybe that would solve a bit of a problem. But basically, you're going to have work to do. But it's done a great job if you're looking for a vector mask for Bessie. So let's have a look what else we've got. It has included those bits I manually added in. So we've got those. And that's not bad. I think it'll work. Oh dear. My poor keyboard is giving me grief. Let me plug it in. We don't want that mithering us, do we? Right. Because I train in the dark, so I haven't got the light on. And if my battery's low, it won't light the keys up. And I could be doing all sorts. Right, so let's add this back in and have a look how it's looking here. Not bad. You can see it is following it around. So what can you do with this other than make a logo of it as a silhouette? Well, you can make it a mask. So we have the curves up there. This is the image itself. If we drag the image inside that layer, we isolate the subject, or in this case, Bessie. So let's go in and have a look at it. It's not bad. Now, it's not a perfect selection. It's a vector selection of what is a pixel-based object, but good enough, maybe, depending on your requirements. Good enough. Now, if we look down at the bottom, you can see, oh dear, we've got some grass in here that we wouldn't necessarily want there because we might be putting it against a background that doesn't have grass on the bottom. That isn't an issue. You can always add a pixel layer here. And this pixel layer is inside the curves. And then you can go and you can repair it. You've got a whole range of repair tools. So if I go in here and I just draw down there, you can see I can actually get rid of the grass at the bottom here. Like that. And obviously, if I were doing this for real, I would be going a lot slower. I would be taking a lot more time, but what do we always say? It's a demo. So there we go. I've tidied up that, and I would carry on and tidy up all of this as well. Particularly that bit. That's very annoying, isn't it? That is really in your face. So let's get rid of that. Now, the point for doing that is that you might want to place your object in front of something else. So usually I use Charlie the Camel for this. But I do have some skylines and backgrounds here. So I think I had an alpine hut. So let's drag this on. Now what's happened is it's put it inside of the curves and we don't want it inside there. It's going to be limited to it. What we want is that separate. And then put it into place, make it in this case much, much bigger, and put it behind the object. So take it behind the object and we have that cut out. Now, obviously, in this circumstance, I would be looking to move the feet out of shot like that and probably scale it. Now, obviously, we've got a cutout and we have lost the background and we've now got a totally different background. But the next problem that we've got with this is the colours don't look right. The colours don't match properly. It looks like we've taken an object from one photo and just dumped it on top of the other. That's where the next feature comes in. So this is another new, in fact, it's two new features, this one. One is a new brush, the Tone Brush tool, and the other is Live Tone Blend Groups. Live Tone Blend Groups are going to save you a lot of time. The Tone Brush, less so, possibly, but it will give you granular control. So we'll have a look at one first. So in here, now this is where the fact that we don't have coloured icons anymore becomes a bit of an issue. Because in here, I'm looking at these and I've got lots of different styles of brushes and I've got to squint to work out which is which in here. But there is my Tone Brush tool. And I can come over to my object and start drawing on it here. Now you've got at the top what you're doing with it. So you can dodge and burn with it. You can inverse blend it. I'm looking to blend it here. Possibly multiply with it. And I would have to look at this and work out if that helped or not. So if you can see what's happening, it's darkening down the front of this as I'm drawing with it. And it's starting to merge with the background better. It's starting to look like it belongs with this background because I'm taking away the harsh, bright tones of the image with it. But obviously, this is a skilled job. You could be here for hours trying to get this right. So that is what it does. You can see it's created a blend tone layer, which you can actually see. That's what it's done. And it's sitting it on top of the curves here. It might make sense for what this is to move that inside here. And that way, if I miss and I've got a little bit outside the ear, it isn't going to make the background even darker. It's going to restrict this layer to my, what is my mask, that I created with the other new tool, which was Convert to Vector. So that is what I would probably do with it. But there is a whole better way to work. So what I'm going to do is open up two images. So let me have a look. Which one shall I pick? I think we'll have that one. So I'll open that image, which is just a hot air balloon. Now, I need to do the same with this as I did with the selections that I make, because I don't want the background on it. I just want the balloon. Now, again, you just make a selection. Which selection tool you use, totally up to you. What I did with this one was, not that second one, I think I did a flood select, and I selected the blue sky because it's got no clouds in it or anything like that. So it's a really easy selection. But obviously, I don't want to make what's selected the vector. If I do that, we'll do it, just to show you why we're not going to do it. Right, it does it on the outside there. So what we've got is the grey bit. In fact, I'll make it a different colour so we can see it. That's what we've got. That's not really what we want at all. So let's undo that and get back to the point that we have a selection. And looking at that, we've got a bit of a dicey selection there, haven't we? So this is the point that you would start using the addition to add a little bit in. Is that adding it in? It should be. Make a selection here. Oh no, hang on, it's inverse, isn't it? So I actually need not to add it, I need to take it away. We don't want that bit. So I'm taking away that bit there. Now I've taken away far too much at that point, but you can see these bits here. I would have to get rid of these as well. Better way to do that is to press the Q key, which takes you into this overlay mode. And what you can do in there is you can just brush these bits to make sure that they're part of the selection or not part of the selection, depending on what you're trying to do. So let me do that. Can you let me do this? I think you are. Eventually, I'll make that brush a bit bigger. And what I'm doing is taking that out of the selection. That I think I would need this set up to 100% and all kinds of stuff here to work. But you get the idea. Right, I'm making a selection. Once I've got my selection, I then need to invert that selection. So instead of the background being selected, I have got the balloon selected. So on a Mac, that is Command Shift and I. I'm assuming it's Control Shift and I on Windows. Once I've got that selection and I'm happy with that, that is the bit that I would then use to convert to curves. And that would give me that. So this is the vector sat on top of the background. And then what I would do with it is restrict the background to my curves, which is now my mask. And I have a hot air balloon. Right. Next bit I need is to put that somewhere. And I have a file called backgrounds. So here's a background. So I'm going to go back into here. I am going to click that layer, copy it, and let's put that layer. It does take its sweet time to have a think about it, but it is thinking about it. There we go. And paste it in there. Now, at this stage, it does look unhelpfully like we've just dumped it on top of that. But we have. That's exactly what we've done. But the new option that we have, which is the Live Tone Blend group, that is available from the Pixel menu. And in here, we have Live Tone Blend group. So with that layer that's got our balloon on it selected, I'm going to just click that. It applies it, and it also allows us in here to change the strength of this. So we can make some changes to it. So if you look at the green bit at the bottom, as I change this, it is applying changes to it. And what it's doing is blending this in with the light of the image that we have. You can also choose the colours here. So you can do this. And you've got your low pass on there as well. Now, depending on what it's actually applying to, you get different effects if you say it's a shape or if it's text. Now, obviously, in this case, it's an image sat on top of another image that I'm trying to blend in nicely. So let's say that we are happy with that. We open that up. This is what's being applied to it. We've got curve. This is our image, and we've restricted it, and it's applied it to it. And it's trying to mix it in or blend it with the background that we've got. And if I move this, the light moves with it. So as I move it down, you can see here it's sort of semi-transparent. You can see through there. It's trying its best to blend that with the background. Now, that is the background in that one is bluish. So you want this quite bright. What I've got in here is a whole range of backgrounds though. And unlike the other one, where you are doing it manually and painting everything on, doing it all by hand, this is automatic. If the background changes, the blend changes. So let's say we don't want it against clouds. We want it against this. Now, obviously, to work, I'm going to have to move it into place and I'm going to have to scale it a bit. But if I wanted that there, I've got a totally different blend with it. You can see on that, it's more orangey. It is blending in better with the background. Then we've got a blue one. Now, if that had remained orange, it would not suit this background with a very blue sky. If you bring that down, so make sure we've got it selected and bring it down, you can even see here that we've got it mingling in with the background. And I'm going here from blue to orangish to blue. The next one is a sunset. So we want to bring that in. It certainly looks like it matches better than it would if I'd have just dumped it on top of it. To prove that point, I think it's still on the clipboard, so let's do just that. Right, that is what it would look like if it wasn't blended in. Very, very different. The tones that the colours have adopted in this one are based on the image that's behind it, whereas this one is literally just dumped on the top. So we'll leave that one there and change the background again. This one does fit better because it was against blue, if you remember. But this which is blended in, is going to look much better if we move it across, because this isn't, it's just going to sit on top of it. So this one is particularly useful, I think, because it updates. If you're not quite sure what background you want it against, you can just leave this as is and look at the difference with this one. This one's just got all of the colour, whereas this one has lost a lot of the colour because it's actually quite bright. The background, although it's black and white, looks a bit dirgy in terms of you looking at it and thinking, what a skyline. But it is a lot lighter than the image that the balloon came from originally, and that is reflected in it. And the last one is also a sunset. So I think we've got the gist of it with this one. It's just dumped on the top of it. So let's hide it. And let's move this one about. So as we drag it to the middle, it's virtually blown out here because it's so close to the light source in the middle. But as we drag it across to this side, the detail comes back in the left-hand side and the colours are reflective of the background. So unless you have all day to sit there and do it by hand, I think that is a really good starting point for any composites that you want to make. At least try that before you try anything else. It might work absolutely perfectly. And the benefit to it is, to me, if it did that against a background, but then I had to redo it for another background, it would lose half of its feature to me. But the fact that it is live and interactive with your background opens up lots of possibilities for applying different backgrounds when you know what's in the foreground, but you're trying to work out how to best showcase it. Okay, so I like that one. I'm really pleased with that one. I like that one. Right, have we got any questions that need dealing with at that point at all? Right, okay, I'm being told no, not at the moment. So what I will do with that is close these. So we'll save those down to there. Oh, we've got to save Bessie, haven't we? Absolutely. I'm putting these in the root. No, I don't want you to overwrite it. So let's put edited at the end of it. Right. And what are we left with? That one. And that one, which I don't think we need at all. Right. So let's get back to there. Right. This to me is the biggest update and possibly the most useful. Can't say there's no gotchas. Oh, there's always gotchas. But this is something that I'm asked about quite a lot, which is applying captions to images in layout mode. So you have either a photo book that you want to put credits underneath the images, you want to put dates, or you want to put a description underneath the image, and you want it all automated. That's what you want. Now, be warned. This is a completely new feature. It's got a new dialog box to make it all work, and it can work. But it's not doing anything that you couldn't do before as long as you knew what you were doing. And I would say with it, it brings some confusion or potential confusion. There's definitely potential in here for something to go wrong. Now, if you know what you're doing, it won't go wrong, or if it does, you'll be able to fix it. But if you've learnt the old way of doing it, which was manual, I wouldn't necessarily dash back to the publications and seek to update them all. I am taking a file today that I had manual captions in, and I will show you that they can quite happily live alongside each other. So let's have a look at this feature. Right, so I'm going to open up the file that I'm using, which is my quick start guide. So what I have here, I would be in layout view with this, and let's have a look at the file. So in here, I've got table of contents, I've got my introduction, and then I go into it. And what I've done is I'm working with a copy of my file. This image had a caption on it, and I took it away. Okay, so I can do this manually now. So I can do it with a new feature and not the way that I was doing it before. I've also done that with these in here. So 3 of them, the main 3 studios, they had a little caption underneath them. What they looked like was like these. I will say my captions were centered, but that is irrelevant at this stage. That's what they look like, the captions. So how do the captions work when you're doing them automatically? So let's go back to this particular image. So the trick to making this work is that you have an image and you have selected it, and you then go to Layer, and there is an option to add a caption. So this is the bit that's completely new. Now, what it's doing at this point is two things. It's showing you this Captions dialog box with all its options inside it. It also did something else, which was it instantly put the caption underneath it, right there. Now, I'm just going to cancel that. I want you to look where it says no selection. So between no selection and what this means for your workflow, when I go to Layer and Add Caption, it comes in and it says Figure Counter. So Figure Caption Counter, and then there's a gap, definitely a wait time, and then it says Figure 1. Now, when I've done it the manual way, I don't see that. It just works. It doesn't sit around and have a think about it for a while. So that's the first thing. And what you've actually got in here is the word figure, the number, which is the counter, and then a dash. And then you've got absolutely nothing. Now, what can you do with this? Well, this is what's happening in this dialog box. So the trick is in here, understanding all of the options that you have in this dialog box. So the first one at the top is saying figure, and then caption counter, and a space, dash, and a space, and then alt text. And that's exactly what it's doing. It's putting the word figure underneath it, is putting a caption counter in there of 1 because it's the first image, and the space and the dash and a space, and then nothing. Now, why is there nothing? There's nothing because this image doesn't have alt text. So I could, at this point, just type in what it is. So I think this said like Layout Studio or something like that. So I could get rid of that placeholder and I could just type something in. If you were looking at the caption when I did that, it went back to caption counter and then it had another rethink. It's like watching Excel from the 90s try and add up this. I think it should be instant. This file is not that big and there's only one figure in there, crying out loud. But that's what we've got. So in here, I could then put the studio. The studio's in the interface. There we go. So I can type that in, and that is what I get underneath. And you can see it's still going back and recalculating that. Please stop doing that. But that's what it's doing. Now, I think there's a lot of scope for improvement in here, because what you can't do, you can make the dialog box bigger so you can read what's in it. But what you can't do in here is choose what it looks like. Now, there are other places in the interface where you can save presets, and this is not one of them. So if I decide I'd like the alt text back and try and make the alt text work, then I would have to come in here and make a change. I can't just choose to have a different format displayed. That's limiting, isn't it? Now, in the drop-down, this is where you get access to things like the caption counter and the special characters and metadata of your image, including the alt text. Fields. So if you've got fields in your document, like author, you can use those. And you can even hook this up with a data merge. I'm sensing a weekend masterclass coming on with this because you can do a lot with it, but it's quite advanced. But for our purposes today, that's what you've got there. Now, I will come back to the alt text when we go on to the next bit, but let's go through the dialog box. We've got one counter in there. We've got text. It says figure. So far, so good. The counter type is figure. And if you click the drop down, you can also apply this to a table. But this is a figure. It's definitely an illustration, a figure of some description. Now, when we were talking about adding captions, I said, don't know why they can't just make it work like Word. It's extensible. And what I meant was, instead of just having the ability to add figure captions, you could make up any series of numbers that you wanted. Now, we're given 2 figures and tables, but what about illustrations? What about equations? What about photos, if you want to call it that? Well, that's where this option next to it comes. You can add completely new types to it. So if I did want to add an illustration, I could add that as a new type. Right, then you've got the option to restart numbering, which I wouldn't really want to do. I've only got one in there, remember. And then you've got the format, which is up to you. Do you want ones? Do you want Roman numerals, lowercase Roman numerals, A to Zs, whatever you need? Okay, you can choose in there. I will leave this set to 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice as soon as I choose that, it has another think about it. Please stop doing that. Right, and then you've got the options in terms of placement, which is, do you want it below the image, which is where it is now? Do you want it above it? And it will automatically put it above it. Not great though, is it? No, it's overlying it. You could put it to the left. That won't work well. It will go into the margin of it, but you can see that you can do it. And of course, you can put it on the right of it, which goes over there. So for things like photographs, that might be perfect, because it might look, if you've got a photo book, you don't particularly want it to look like a text book. And to have the caption going up the side is something that may visually be more appealing for that kind of work. For this, that's a manual, it makes sense to have it at the bottom though. So let's put it back to below. Then you've got the horizontal and the vertical offset, which is the placement of the caption in comparison to the object. So if we go in there and we put 5mm and 5mm, you can see what happens. You may want to do that because I think the text is too close, to be honest with you. So you may want to go in there and put something like 1mm and 1mm, or 1mm and 2mm. But notice what happens with that. This is now cut across it, even though I can see the text. The box isn't actually big enough for the text. What's going on? Now, what's going on with it is this is a text frame and it's treated as a text frame. So if I close that and I do that, I will show you what's happening. In here, this is the text frame panel. And this doesn't look good, although it is actually working. But I wouldn't be happy leaving that like that and maybe handing this document off to a client if they had to edit it, because they're going to take one look and say, what's wrong with this? Now, there's nothing wrong with it per se. What is happening is that this text frame is not ignoring the baseline grid. It is twanging to the baseline grid. If I set it to ignore it, it goes back to where it was in the first place. And now what I set in the dialog for the caption is taking precedence over the default for the document. So that's actually quite important. But it's in the text frame properties. It's not in the captions part of this. But that's what's happening with it. Now, we've now clicked OK, but we hadn't finished. Oh dear. Well, you can edit this because this was just plain text that I typed in. I just typed it into a dialog box. But let's have a look what's going on. This is the image over here, which would be better if it was named Studios, wouldn't it? So that's Studios in the interface. Right. So that's the image, and this is a new layer type, which has a little icon, meaning caption, and it's telling you it's caption frame. You can type whatever you want in here. By default, it's showing you what text is in there. And if you want to go back and edit that retrospectively, you double-click the thumbnail, and that takes you back into the Edit Caption dialog. So, at the moment in here, we've gone through everything apart from the paragraph style. And you can see in there that it's saying body primary. Didn't want it to be body primary. By default, it's going to be set to no style. That's the default. Now, you may think to yourself, well, I can just format it. And you can indeed just format it to look however you want. So if we leave it like that, and we come into here, and we're looking at that, let's have a look at the text styles. It's still saying body primary here, even though I told it, don't bother. What I can do is tell it no paragraph style, and it will take that away completely. So there's no paragraph style, and there's no character style on that. But there's nothing to stop me coming in here and formatting that in any way I want. So let's say I want it to be a rover. And I want it, no, the size is fine. So let's say I want it like that. Right, you can do that. Please don't do that. Future you will be really, really upset with you if you do that, because you will give yourself multiple problems. Problem number one. If you then want to change that, because you decide that that font looks ridiculous and you can't read it, you're going to have to go through every single caption and do it by hand. That problem should be obvious to you. That's why we use text styles. Make life easy. The second problem will be, if you format it that way, there is one thing that you will not be able to do. And there is no dirty hack, there is no amount of dirty hackery that will fix it other than doing it right in the first place. Which is, if you manually format your figures like that, you will not be able to make a table of figures, a table of tables, or a table of anything else either. So understanding how this interacts with text styles is critical to save future you from bad things happening. So, as soon as you find yourself putting a caption in here, do not leave the style set to none. Make sure that you go in here and set it to something. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you want them to look like at this stage. It doesn't matter. Just set it to a unique style. Now, in this document, remember, this document is a real document. So, I already had a caption style. If we go down into here, you can see there's my caption style. And I can apply that in there. And OK. And that is what my caption style looks like. Now, that is defined in here. You can see it's part of my style tree. And I can go in there and I can edit that so it's aligned to the left. But the thing that I'm thinking about is it would make sense to me to change the font colour and have that a grey colour. So not quite, I think the colour of the text is blue. But I want this to be a different colour, and that is how I would do that. So that enables me to change that on all of the captions that I've got, including in this document, the original ones. Here are these. These are, I've got the caption style applied to them. Now, these were manually done. These have got no figure things next to them or anything else either. They're manually done. But, doesn't matter. You can leave those like that. I contemplated with this demonstration how many times I was going to show you adding a caption. And when I looked through the file, I thought, well, we'll have done this first one and I'll do the 3 main studios, but there's absolutely no need to do it another 6 times. So let's just leave them alone. Then I thought to myself, will that break anything? And I pondered and I thought, no, because I know what I'm doing and I will share with you what I'm doing. So I also have in here the studio controls down there. And I've got some extra stuff in here. I don't think I've got any more images. That one doesn't have a caption. I've got extra stuff I'll be working on. So the next thing we need to do is to go into this one and add a caption to that. There. Now, this did have a caption originally. I deleted them for demonstration purposes. So remember what we do. We select. Now, in the layers in here, you've got Vector Studio. Notice that that is made up of 2 things in here. So which one do I apply the caption to? Well, you can quite happily attach it to the group here, which is the Vector Studio icon. You can go to Layer, Add Caption, and you can add the caption. Now, notice, problem. What's it doing? Right, it is a figure, I guess, and it has got a caption and a counter, and it is number 2. So, not too bad. The bit that I don't get is, why would they populate this with the same caption as the last one? I've got no idea. So I've got to go in there and I've then got to change that. Right? I would have to go in there and I would have to manually change it. Not great. Is there something we can do about that? Well, there is, because if you remember, there was the alt text thing going on. So if I took the text out of there and I added in a placeholder, which was my metadata, so I'm trying to get down to here. Come on, there we go. And I put the alt text in, that might then work. But notice what's happening. It's having a think with its little self. It's saying it's figure 2 and there's nothing coming through. Right. But that's the default, remember. Everything else in here can be left alone at this stage, because you do want that caption style applying to it. That is what you want. Now, I can see I've got some clashing styles in here already. Now, this could well be a bug. I would have to spend far more time than I've had available to work through with what it's actually doing and what it shouldn't be doing. But that's why I'm seeing a weekend masterclass. Right, so that's what we've got in there. Now, can we make that work or not? And what I mean by that is in terms of the alt text. Now, the first problem I see with this is, now I've added this in, we've got this same problem we had before, which is the actual caption text frame would need me to go in to my text frame and ignore the baseline grid. Why can't I set that as a default? Hello? That would make sense. But I can't, so I'd have to do that manually. Because of that, I'm already looking at this and thinking, can't do it that way. There are better ways to do it. You could put a style inside your caption style. You could put the spacing and you could try and do it that way. But you've got zero control over this dialogue until you've pressed OK and you come out of it. Now, in terms of where's the text gone, where's the alt text? Alt text is controlled with a different window. And that is the tags panel, which is up here. So this is the tags panel, and you can see it says alt text and it says custom, and you've got various options in here. But they're all dimmed out, and they're dimmed out because it doesn't apply when you've got a text frame selected. But when I select my Vector Studio, which is what I've got the figure attached to, it comes alive and I can go in here. Now this one is Vector Studio, isn't it? Which has got a T in it. Right, Vector Studio. So that's the first point. All right, there's my alt text. Now you can pull that in from the file, but this hasn't got any. So I've got Vector Studio in there. Right, am I done? Am I done at that point? Well, let's come into here. It doesn't seem to pull it through. Now, I had a play around with it, and one of the things I did manage to do with this caption is add two to one image. I think that was a bug. I couldn't do it twice. But I can assure you it will come back and bite me when I least want it to. So I can put things in here, and I can put summary text in and all of this. I put everything in there. And sometimes it comes through and sometimes it doesn't. But the issue with this is this isn't actually a graphic, is it? It's a group. So there's a possibility that that's why it's not coming through properly. I have got this working in other situations, so I will show you that. So we'll leave that to the side, and then I need to go through that, and I need to do it multiple times, don't I? So just to quickly show you that, let's get the others in there. We need another 2, so I'm going to add a caption to that. It will come through and it will say figure 3 and so forth, and I'm just going to click OK. And it does that down the bottom. And you can see the problem straight away. No control over that. And let's do the last one here. Layer, add caption, and OK. And all of them are numbered correctly, or they will be as I think about it. There you go. Right, so we've got all of those in. Now, here's the other thing that will go wrong for you. These in here are looking absolutely fine. You can see that the text in here, despite the fact there's a style applied, is misbehaving. So I'll need to fix that. That one's got a manual caption on it, but I am going to show you table. Wouldn't it be nice if we could have a caption on the table? And the good news is you can do that. The bad news is it's more manual than I would have expected. So you select the table, you go to add caption. And I thought, well, that's simple. Just make sure that you choose table and everything will just work. No, it won't. Don't do that. Right, your problem here is that this does not automatically update, nor are there any presets that you can select from. So what you're going to have to do, like a heathen, is actually type in table. And then it will put a number next to it. You can see it says table 1. Now, is it still worth, at this stage, bothering to change the counter type? Well, yes, you would need to change the counter type, because you don't want this to say table 14 and it be counting the graphics and not the tables. So that's why you do need to change the counter type. But apart from that, everything looks fine, doesn't it? No problems with that. I would probably put next to this what it is. So what is this? Studios by tasks. There we go. So I've got that in there. It's counted it. Everything's fine. I've got 2 more tables in here, I do believe, which are both on this page. So this one's the core studios. So same principle. Let's just apply a caption to it. It remembers that the table was the last one that I did. So to be honest, if you're doing this, one pro tip might be to go through and do this at the end, and then you don't have to keep changing this backwards and forwards. But I think it should be better implemented than this. But we've got table, it's table 2, it's not studios by task, it is core studios. So I'll get rid of that and I'll type in what I need there. That's that one taken care of. And then finally, it's my specialist studios. So I will add this. Has anybody in the chat, Mike, spotted the deliberate error that is about to befall us? So I'm putting... Nobody said a word. No, it's all about to go wrong. Right, specialist studios. Okay. So we're done, aren't we? Apart from the fact that, this is hanging outside the box and we need to sort the styles out. Give or take, it's a demo of a new feature that needs some fixes. We're good to go. Now, why have we bothered to put the captions on it? Well, one, putting the captions on here can be quite handy. So you know that is Layout Studio, for example. Let me just put one more in, which is this one. So let's say that this image here, I'm going in there and I have selected just the image at this stage. So if that is the snapshots panel, that should come through. Don't make me out to be a liar. I'll be very grumpy if you do that. Right. Get in there, go to the layer, add the caption. This time it's not a table. So I need to go back to figure, which means I've got to go in there and type figure. And it's put it in it. And notice, because it was an image and because I specified alt text in the tags panel, it's pulled it through. That's good news. Right. So we've now got all the figures that we need, all the tables we need, and all the captions that we need. Why is it not going to work? Right, well, one reason that we've put the captions in is so you know which caption, which image belongs to which section of the document. The other reason that you would take the time and do this is to do with the table of contents. This is my table of contents. This is where that finishes. And what I would like is to have in here a table of figures and a table of tables. And you know, if you've been with me before, that you could do all of that manually. It wasn't even that difficult. So first thing we're going to need here is a page. So let's add a page to that. We're going to need 1 or 2 pages. We'll go for 1. After page 3, and we want to flow them in. So away we go. And it puts in page 4. And in here, we can put our text in here. So what do I need in here? Well, I'm going to need a table of figures. And I would probably format that as a 1 or a 2. Let's make it a 1 like that. Table of figures. That's going to be my table of figures in there. And then underneath that, I am going to want a table of tables. It will also be a heading 1. I'll have to make it a heading 2 so it can be on the same page. That's just the way I've set the styles up in here. And my table of tables will go there. Okay. Has anybody worked out what's going to happen? Oh, it's going to be catastrophic. But we'll do it anyway. Right. So make a table of figures. All I need to do with that is to insert a table of contents. It's as simple as that. So I have my table of contents panel and I have a plus button on it. And I'm going to hit that and all kinds of things is going to happen. Right. Table of figures, table of table. What's all this? How it determines what's in the table of contents is based on the text style. So if we look across to the left-hand side, you can see all of these, all of my headings, look at them all. By default, it works with the headings. So turn them all off. We don't want the headings in this. We want the captions in this. That should give you a clue as to where it's all going to go wrong. Right, no table of contents entries found. No, because I need to go and find the text style for my captions. There they are. Right, let's bring all of those in. Right. That is not what I saw yesterday, I can assure you. Right, I'm going to have to make sure that the text styles are fully applied in this, because that's not what I saw at all. So let's go through our document. What have we got here that is working? So what I'm going to do is take a swift screenshot of that and leave it there so we can refer to it. Right, figure 1 is this one, and that is working. Right, the next one is the Slice Studio, which means that this is not coming through. This is not coming through. But why? I've got no idea. This definitely came through in rehearsals. So let me move this so I can look at it. Okay. It could be that my caption, my figure under here, is not styled correctly. It should be styled correctly. It absolutely should. Let's make sure it's got the caption style, so it should be working. However, it isn't. Okay, let's go in there. Let's choose something else and choose back. It is definitely applied to that. So something weird is going on. It could be that it's in a group and it doesn't like being in a group. But nowhere does it tell me that in the help file. Don't be ridiculous. This one isn't coming through either. The next one we've got is the Slice Studio. So these that I've added aren't working properly, even though they are done correctly. The only thing I can imagine that is wrong with this at the moment, as I say, is in the layers, while technically it's working, maybe it needs to be applied to at this level to the shape, or it doesn't work with shapes. One or the other. I don't know. The help file does give me no indication of that. So that's my first problem. My other problem should be my tables at the end. So let's have a look in here. Did it take Studio Controls? It did. That's the last one it took. But it didn't take that one. And again, there's no reason why not. There's absolutely no reason why not. So I'm making sure that that's selected, and I'm making sure it's got the right style on it, and it still isn't working. So like I said, this has got issues at the moment, which hopefully they'll fix. But I'll go up here and I will persevere, and I will try and update that and try and get it in there. And you can see it's still not coming through. So I'm just going to have to talk you through what the issues would be. Unless I could... No, I can't open that file. Right. Okay, for demonstration purposes, I will make a very swift file. Maybe I should have been ambitious and think it might work with the file I've already got. So what I'm going to do is make a file here. I've got one page in it. I am going to need to work very quickly, so I'm going to put in 7 pages that follow on from this, and they're going to follow through. This one here is going to have my table of contents on it. So this is not going to be pretty, but bear with me, it will work. So let's put table of contents. And that's going to be the table of contents in there. And I will make that a heading 1. Like that. Right, I'll leave that page blank. And then in here, I'm just going to put a text frame. And I am going to put some filler text in it. Like I say, it's not going to be pretty, but it'll work. And it's got the wrong format on it, but never mind. Let's make it body text. And finally, I'm going to put an image in it. So I've got an image. Obviously, with that, I'm going to need to adjust the wrap on it. So we'll get that like that. And I need to put a caption on it. It doesn't really matter whether I've got anything in it or not at this stage, but I will go to the stock and I will put a Samoyed in it. Right, as of a smiling Samoyed, or a grumpy Samoyed, because the demo's not working properly. There we go. Grumpy Samoyed. Right, so with that selected, I'm going to go and add a caption to it. It's going to take the alt text from the image, so I will OK that. It will have a think about what the number is. There's nothing in the alt text. I would need to add that to the tags panel. So let's get the tags panel. Are we all still following along? Don't you love it when it doesn't work? Right, Samoyed. Not happy. No, neither am I. Right, and that has come through now because it's come from there. This at this stage would need to be formatted with a text style. So back in here, I don't have a caption style. So I would need at this point to create a style for that and apply it. And it doesn't matter what you call it, but I'm going to call it caption. I will make it nowhere near that big. And I'll make it grey so we can tell that apart from the other one. Right. So now we've got a caption. We should be good to go. Also, you would need a table. So I am going on another page. I will just copy that text. That'll do nicely. And I would put, it doesn't like that, does it? Come on. Right. There we go. And I will put a table in here. We do not need anything as much as that. I'm not going to bother putting anything in the table because it's just the fact that it's a table. Although I will actually have to put something so it doesn't disappear. So let's do that. Don't you love it? Because my demo was lovely. It was pretty. And now I've got an ugly demo and I'm not happy. Right, let's do that. And then we need to put a caption on there. So we go back to our add caption. We need to tell it that it's a table. We need to change that to the word table. And we need to apply our caption style to it like that. Okay. And just in case it does go crazy with itself, right, let's save that as captions. Right, it's saved. So back up here, we need a table of contents, but we also need our table of tables and our table of figures. So up there, I'm going to put table of figures. This doesn't work. I am going to be majorly grumpy. Let's do that. And then we can duplicate that. And this is going to be our table of tables. Right. So we are almost ready to create them. So table of figures. I need to insert a table of contents. So I will add that. It says nothing found. That is because it's looking for heading 1 and heading 2. We don't want heading 1 and heading 2. We want caption. Excellent. Now it's broken. So it seems to have a problem with existing files. Maybe I would need to sanitize the entire file. If you're starting from scratch, you still have a problem. This is the problem. If I go into here and I want a table of tables, I add a table of contents and I say I don't want the headings, I want the caption style. And now this is my problem. My problem is a table of contents is not based on the object captions category. It is based on the text style. So if you have 5 different kinds of caption in your file, you are going to have 5 different text styles to apply to them if you want separate tables of figures, illustrations, tables, and or anything else. So now we've got an issue. How do you fix that issue? Because at this point, a lot of people start manually formatting and playing around with it. Don't do that. Because as soon as you update it, you lose everything. You don't want to do that. This is how you fix it. You go back to your content. Right, this is the figure. And it had down here our caption, which I'm finding problematic to grab hold of. But here we go, caption. Now, what on earth do you do to fix that? The easiest way to fix it is to take the style you already have and rename it. So in here, this is going to be caption, but it's going to be 4 figures. And we're done. Now, I need a different style for captions for the table. So down here, you can see I've already got that and it's fine. What I would do is duplicate this one and I would rename it tables. Like that. Now, if you're getting clever with it, I'd do one more thing. Because at the moment, these 2 styles are the same. And I would probably want them the same. But what I don't want to do is juggle 5 styles where I make a change to one and I have to make a change to all 5. So I make a group and I call that Captions. I then go to my figure captions and I edit it and I base it on my Captions group. I then go to the tables one and I edit that and I base that on my Captions group. At this stage, these two are independent of each other. So if I went in and I thought, right, I want these captions a different colour. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, I don't want them grey, I want them bright red, like that. It changes on the table. It's changed on the figure as well. Good grief, how have I managed to do that? One must be based on another, or I've used a global colour, one or the other. Right? But a better place to do that is to go into both of these and say, no change. Right? So in here, you are not changing those at all. And then set them at the group level. But at the moment, technically, we should have in here, if I can get to it. Oh, this is so awkward. Right. I nearly had it then. Nearly had it. Let's move it so I can get hold of it. Right, now I've got it. Right, that's figures. Let's make sure that the tables is table. That's why it changed. Okay, now it's grey. So you can see the problem. So what I would want to do is edit the captions group and set the colour at this level. So I will set it to something we've not had before, like a hideous luminous pink. Right, at the moment, the table is still grey, the figure is still red, but I will go in here and say, I don't want that to come from here. And in the tables, edit that. I don't want that to come from here either. And now the table is pink and the figure is pink and they are coming from the group. I could have 20 caption styles. And if I want to change the colour of all of them, I change it at the group level and not the style level. This is what I was trying to show you in my file, only they've broken it on me. Right, so back to our table of contents, which is still broken. We've still got both in there. Or have we? Well, let's have a look what's going on in here. This one is made up of caption figures. Well, table shouldn't be in there then. So let's update it. It disappears. Let's go to the table of tables, which has got one figure in it, not our table. We can put the table in and we can take the figures out. And now you have granular tables of contents. But remember, it's based on the text styles. It is not based on the counter, which is idiotic. But there you go. At least you know how to fix that. Now, what's going on with my file, I wouldn't like to say. It could be that there is a conflict in terms of, I'm seeing things I shouldn't really be seeing. So I would have to totally reverse engineer that file to work out what's going on. But when I was prepping, I prepped it this way, and I know that it is, shall we say, broken, all right? In terms of you have to understand text styles to make this work. I was expecting that if it was a caption, if it was a caption attached to an object and it was using the feature that was there, that the tables of contents would be more automated than they are. They are still relying on the text style, so you cannot get away with not understanding the text styles. That's the point I'm making. And then once you've got your table of contents, don't make any manual changes to the table of contents to change the look of it. Use the styles that appear only when you are in the table of contents. So you can see it's talking here about a top level 2 for the style caption tables. And in this one, it will light up the figures. They are using different styles. So I've got a job on my hands now that I didn't start out with, haven't I? Which is fixing that file. I will make copious notes and then maybe even do a video on me trying to fix that. But that's what we've got. Now, a couple of hidden gems, or the stuff they forgot to mention. Don't know if this was deliberate. Right, the first one I've already shown you, which is when you go into the new dialog box, this has changed. They didn't mention it, but this is now on a per preset basis and not global to the entire dialog box. The other thing that they've done, which is all right now I know what they've done, but it would be nice if they told me they'd done it, is if I go into the vector mode and in here I go to my templates and I get my YouTube template, which is this one, right? It opened up like that. And I thought, that's weird. It doesn't normally look like that. No, normally it looks like that. And the only reason that it says Affinity by Canva and all the assets on it is so in my new dialog box, I have a thumbnail. There's no way to set a thumbnail. So I fake it. I fake it in my templates. Each one of them has an artboard in the file. So if we look at these, some of them are just the first page. There's others that have deliberate images in them. There's mock-ups that's actually a mock-up of the thing. I've got Map Bytes ones that you can see. This is set up with no artboard with branding on it. It's set up with all of the artboards, right? But this one's got the thumbnail thing in it. So that's why I have this shape. But why did it open weird? I thought, what's going on? Now, what I do workflow-wise is this. As soon as I come into this, I look at that and I delete it. And it says, do you want to keep the objects or delete them? I want to delete them. This is what it looks like when I'm creating a poster. Right. Obviously, I'm zooming into some of these. This one is the 16:9. This is the square one. This one is what I use in Eagle. This is, I think, the Pinterest size. This is the size for the blog, and this is the 16:9 with a reflection on it for the recap. Now, if I double click on these, it zooms into them. That's absolutely fine. When I'm zoomed in to something, I always had a shortcut key, which was Command and 0. I'm presuming Control and 0 on Windows, and it would zoom me out to all of the artboards. Command and 0. Zoom me out. It doesn't zoom me out anymore, does it? Because I'm using that key and nothing's happening. So I thought, that's weird. So I went off hunting the shortcut keys. I have not changed these shortcut keys. It does something totally different now. So if I select an artboard, not the one that I'm zoomed into, and I Command and 0, it zooms into that artboard. That's new. I thought, that's fine. Now how do I zoom out and see all of the artboards? And I had to go on a mega hunt looking for the shortcut key, which is now, brace yourselves, Command, Option, Shift and 0. That was not listed in the release notes. Don't change anything and not put it in the release notes. It's not big and it's not clever. So be aware of that. Now I'm used to it. It's like, actually, that's quite useful because I can either zoom into the current artboard without having to move my hand and double click the mouse, or I can zoom out to the whole level, but you need to know it's doing it. So it would have been nice if they told us it was doing it. So with that one selected, Command and 0 zooms you into it, and Command, Option, Shift and 0 zooms you out to the whole level thing. So there you go. A couple of things that were in there worth mentioning that they didn't mention. Not good. Okay, so that's what we looked at. Everything that was new in there. Some of it a little bit more exciting than others, and most unfortunate that my file's going to need heavy triage, but there you go. I personally wasn't impressed with the glitch thing, but if you use it, then maybe you are. Pen tool options, nice, but, you know, I didn't think it was that much that you couldn't do before. The convert to curves depends on your use case for it, but it's not bad. Certainly, it would give you a quick head start on making a quick vector. Then there was the tone brush. That worked quite nicely. I love the blend group, though, because it's all automatic. The object captions, there's a lot more that I could say about those, particularly when I can get them working. So that's what I'm thinking, a longer session on that. And some things that they didn't mention. So you will find everything I do at youtube.com/Elaine Giles, where we have my Affinity with Elaine playlist, which has got on it all the sessions since version 3 originally released last October. I would say if you're starting out, the text styles, don't start working without understanding the text styles, which are most important. Master pages are fairly important as well. But I think if you understand the text styles, you've got a great head start with everything, including the bulleted and numbered lists that we looked at. And these are the last few sessions that I did. So if you found that useful, give the video a like, makes a difference with YouTube. Seen as though in the last week or the last 10 days, my views are down 25%. I don't know if it was something I said. No idea. You can subscribe as well, and then you will get first notification of all the sessions that I do. Comments, very, very important. You can't leave a comment when we're live, but you can certainly leave a comment later. If you've made it this far, our secret icon today is the lightning flash. So put that in your comment and I'll know that you've watched the whole thing. And if you want to hit me up on the socials, thank you for being with me. Mainly I'm on Blue Sky. Pretty much because I can't get... which ones did we try this week? Was it Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter? And no, it didn't work that well. But you will find me on Blue Sky. And if you want to ask a question, go to my blog at elainegiles.co.uk and use the contact form. There's also my VIP list, which you will find at elainegiles.com/VIP. That is where you will get notifications of all that I'm doing. And I do have something new coming very, very soon, which if you are using Affinity, you might just be interested in. Let's just say that. Right, we're going to go into Q&A. What have we got, Mike?
Jamie wants to know, how did you find the things they didn't put in the release notes?
Because I live and breathe this app. And when I use a shortcut key and nothing happens or the wrong thing happens, I get highly suspicious that they're up to mischief. What I have done, which is, we're talking beyond advanced, I want to move between the studios with a predictable key. And they have it set so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And I'm like, well, that's no use to man the beast. What I've started doing is setting up shortcut keys outside of Affinity, because while I can set them up inside Affinity, it's on a per machine basis. Whereas if I do it with Keyboard Maestro, which is Mac only, I'll grant you, they are automatically synchronized across devices. So if a shortcut key changes, I know about it instantly. Other stuff is just literally working with it. Now, that document, I was obviously testing this in an environment where I created some text and I put some images in and all of that. And then I thought today, I'll demonstrate it with a proper document so you get a feel for that's how the caption looks and stuff. And you saw, it didn't work. So obviously there's problems there, that something is clashing with something else already. That's why I decided I would show you with a very basic layout, because I knew that it was broken. I knew that the table of figures and the table of captions would merge together, because I'd done it 3, 4, 5 times in rehearsals. So it's just a matter of knowing it, and then I press a key and something different happens and I'm like, what have you done now? And then, of course, I've got to go and find it. But yes, I did go through the release notes line by line, and it wasn't mentioned, trust me. There was about 4 or 5 things that weren't mentioned. And I thought, well, the presets one, that's a benefit. Why would you not mention that the presets are now more granular? And also, if somebody is used to it and they go to the new dialogue and that button's not missing, they're not going to sit there looking around for it. They're going to put a ticket in. So it would actually be in their interest to put these tiny little changes in. Because my first thought was, where's that gone? And I thought, well, where would it make logical sense to put it? And I thought, well, it was always made more logical sense to have it in the individual preset. And that's where I found it. But they do things like that, Jamie. It's just what they do. So there you go. What else have we got?
What else have we got? Tony Brooks says how to set up a caption number of style chapter 01 text, where 01 can be a number between 01 and 40, and also up to 4 lines of text in the figure box.
The figure box is the figure box, and that's it at the moment. So you would have to manually size each one. That is why I wouldn't necessarily use that option yet, because you can be far more granular and automated as well if you do it yourself. So the way that I've done it before, which session did I do it in? Let me have a look. I definitely talked about it I probably did it in styles, didn't I? And I definitely talked about it in one of the image sessions, how to set up the exact same thing that you can do with this new feature, but it was just far more granular in terms of you could have the box for lines if you wanted it, and you could have manual fields in it. So what you'd have to do is put manual fields in it for your chapter numbers, all of which I demonstrated in the other sessions, and some of that you can't do with this new feature. And obviously the new feature is clashing somewhere with something that I need to sort out. So if you want the level of control that you're talking about, I'm sure it will arrive, might even be in my lifetime. But I don't think we're there yet without you needing to make quite a few changes every time you use it. Now, one of the things I showed in relation to captions under images in like a photo book was that you can create a placeholder for the image, you can create a text frame underneath it, you can format it however you want, you can size it however you want, and you can also even put in it the text that you want and the fields that you want, and then group the two together and make an asset of them. And then, to be honest, that's as fast as the caption option, but it's more flexible. So at the moment, if you've got something like that, I don't think I would rely on the caption option. So I think with my file, the version of that file I edited today was a copy of the original file. Having seen what I've seen in this session, I will not go back and change the original. What I'll do is try and fix that version and see what's wrong with it. But I'll probably, in the real file, stick with the original, because I know if anything odd happens that I can fix it. But you saw that I could not make that work properly. There's something clashing somewhere. So I would not try and do something as advanced as that just yet. Maybe 2-3 revisions down the line. But right now, it's going to give you more work doing it that way than if you did it the manual way. And that really shouldn't be the case. But the fact is, it is. That's where we're at.
Okay. Lady Patty says, I'm new to Affinity, and could someone tell me how to get the pages, assets, and table of contents to show on the left-hand side?
Okay, I can show you that. No problem at all. Let's go in here. Right, you have in the interface, irrespective of which of these, I nearly said personas, studios you are in, you have two areas of the interface, the left-hand side and the right-hand side, that are controlled within here as your panels, show left and show right. These shortcut keys are not defaults. They are my shortcut keys. I've customized them. So what I do when I'm doing this is I would use my control and square left bracket to turn that one off, and the right square bracket to turn that one off, and then I would bring them back with the same shortcut keys. So they're two toggles. Now that is toggling on and off the areas themselves. What it is not doing is controlling the panels that are shown within those areas. So for example, if I'm in the vector view, I've got it showing the assets and the symbols and the stock. If I wanted something else showing, I would go up to Window, and in these groups here, you have all of the panels. So if, for whatever weird reason in here, I wanted to see the data merge panel, I could bring on the data merge panel, and that will open it in the last place it was opened. If I want to dock that to the left, I would take it up there and dock it. If I would rather have the data merge on the right, I drag it across and I get this blue area, and it's going to show me where it's going to drop it. So that is how you do that. I should probably mention at this stage, because in relation to Jammy, you know, how much time do I spend doing this? Far too much. I don't want to do a session 2 minutes after it's released, because, you know, all you'd be doing is saying, oh, and they've added this and it works, and they've added this and it works. Give me a couple of days and I'll find out the 300 things that don't work. And one was the data merge panel. If you remember, all the way back 5-6 months ago when this was released, there was an issue with the data merge panel. And that was, where's my data merge panel gone? Your panels are dependent on the studio that you're in. So that data merge panel has just completely vanished. I do have a custom layout here for data merge. So I'll turn that on. That's the easiest way of finding it. Right, let's go to the data merge. Right, you can see in my data merge, I have my data merge listed here. Right, if what I wanted to do with this was add a data file, and for that I'm going to need a data file. So let me go get an Excel file that hopefully has got some data in it. Right, file extension. That. You're getting giddy now, aren't you? I'm looking for an Excel file. Right, let's have a look. Dates. That sounds hopeful. Or maybe I should go for planner. Planner data. Planner data sounds even better. Right, so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put that, a copy of it in there. And what I'm going to do is hook up to that data file. So there is my planner data. Right, that's absolutely fine. But remember what the problem was. The problem was, if this wasn't docked, and I'm using the data merge panel as an example, but it can happen with other panels. If this opens and it's tiny, so it opens here like this, you could look at that and it not work properly. I am trying using my mouse wheel to move up and down, and I can't. The button just is not coming into view. If this is bigger, you can see that's the minimum size it should be. That they've still not fixed it. Now, what happens is if you are sizing this up, sometimes you get a scroll bar on the right. You may have just seen that. Other times you don't, so it's disappeared totally now. So if you're working with a panel and you think there's something missing, grab the bottom of it and pull it down and have a look to see if it's missing. In my circumstance, I'm in data merge almost every day. So I make sure that I've got it docked, and that way I've got the full screen of it. The other element that you might have is if you've got one of these panels and it's outside of it and you want it docked, and none of them are there. So what I mean by that is if I pull this out and I pull this out, now you've got a problem. You want to take this and you want to put it back over there, but there's nowhere to drop it. So you think, well, that's fine. Elaine said go to window and go to panels and show the left one, and now it's dimmed out. So you couldn't turn that left panel back on if you tried. Oh, good grief, what's gone on? I don't think this is very helpful either. But how you do it, you drag one of the panels over here and keep going. Don't just drag it where it was, keep going. And when you get the big blue area, you can let go. And it will bring back that left-hand area. All of that is exactly the same on the right-hand side. But I get so many questions about that when somebody has dragged this out, the last panel, and then they cannot turn that back on. There's no way to turn it back on. You have to drag a panel into the location for it to be enabled. So that's just something to be aware of if you're not that au fait with the interface. Just another weirdness that happens. Okay, hopefully that explained that.
Right, okay. Stephen Lowry says, I heard Canva Affinity bought an app called Cavalry, a system to create animations, one thing Affinity doesn't do. Just saying, have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I have heard that they bought it. There was a lot of trumpeting going on that they'd bought it. I've also read people that are saying it's not quite there yet, that it's got scope for improvement. But clearly, they're either going to add the features into Canva itself, or maybe roll it into Affinity as a different studio. I can't see that being sooner rather than later. It did make me think, though, that if what they're trying to do is beef up their professional apps, the ones that are aimed not at everybody. I mean, Canva's aimed at everybody. Anybody can design. Whereas Affinity is more for semi-pros, hobbyists, if you want to put it that way. It did make me wonder whether they were in the market to buy something like Media Place or Eagle, because digital asset management is critical. I would say it's more critical than motion graphics. So who knows what's coming in that side of it. Maybe they wouldn't need to if they added in the ability to manage your Affinity files in Canva and do it online. But then they might make that part of a subscription, so who knows? So yes, I've heard of it. I've not used it, not tried it, and people seem to fall into two camps. One, oh, that's amazing, I can't wait. And other people that were saying, yeah, but it's not really all there yet and it's going to take a little bit of time. But that's what I heard.
Okay, Richard Cato says, and I don't know if this is something you can do now or another video session. Can you give us something on LUTs and the likes, please?
Not totally my area of expertise, but I could do. That's more on the photo side of it. So pretty much 99% of what I train is the layout side of it. You can use LUTs in relation to layouts when you've got images in there. It isn't something I can show you in 2 minutes, but I'll add it to the list of topics. There we go.
Okay, last question from Mike Brett. Is there a way to make the tutorials from the Learning Centre visible stroke usable without an electron microscope? On Windows, they are impossibly small on my installation.
I must admit, I've never seen them. So let me go in and have a look. Oh, I did try looking at one when they released it, and there was no sound, and I thought, well, what's the point of that? Let me have a look. All right, an intro. What else have we got? Oh, is that it? Oh, seriously, are there just 8 of them? Right, let's find a small one. 400k, that'll do nicely. Right, can we do anything with it? No, that's actually moving that. It doesn't look like it. Do you know, we get told, don't we? You know, when you're working for a company, don't put zooms in, it upsets people. And these videos are full of zooms. Is there sound these days? Oh, do these have sound? Let me turn the sound up. No, I don't. I don't believe they do. Are we on step 1? Can we play it? No, they don't have sound either. No, I don't think so. I would suspect that the same videos are available on their website. Do they have a learning centre on their website? You see, I tend to steer away from watching their stuff because I want to come to this with like an inquiring mind and not following the instructions to the letter and nothing goes wrong. You know, I want to sit here and think, what is it I'm trying to do? Let me see how I can do that. And then I can improve the process, or if it doesn't work properly, I can put a hack in place, which was how some videos were born, weren't they, Peter? Do you remember the notes video? It was quite long in its gestation, if you remember. Mike's totally forgotten that. I haven't.
Mike says, could you try on Windows?
Right, let's see how that works. Right, so going to new in here and home and learn and oh, have we got more videos? Oh, I do think we have. Right, let's take the same one though. So let's click on that. Good grief, it's even smaller, isn't it? No, I don't see a way that you could make that any bigger. You literally can't read the interface, which explains why they're zooming in, doesn't it? And that's only 23 seconds. Oh, and there's a little volume thing that's dimmed out. No, I do not know of a way that you could make that bigger. I would guess it would download somewhere because it's got a download icon. So maybe if you could find it in your file system, you'd be able to open it up in a video player. But I mean, it's a lot of trouble to go to actually be able to see it, isn't it? Why wouldn't it be full screen? Oh, maybe I should do my next YouTube at the size of a postage stamp and see how everybody likes it.
I once did that.
The one thing I didn't do with this Windows installation, Mike, was make it the right resolution. So never mind. It probably looks even worse. But I do with my own, with the Mac, I change the resolution so you can see things. So no, I don't know of a way to do that, I'm afraid. You're quite right. It's not much bigger than postage stamp.
Right.
Is that it? Is that it for questions?
Yeah. In terms of the emoji, everyone seems to have picked the lightning bolt.
Right.
I don't know.
That's fine. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm sure that's what it was. But right, okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. As I say, keep your eye on the newsletter. If you're not subscribed, you need to be subscribed. It's something new on the way. But I finished it. And What else have we got? Oh, there is a Canva event on the 16th of April. And what we did last time there was a Canva event, which was obviously the monstrosity that they'd kept us waiting for a month. Wild speculation. What did they call it? Anticipation marketing. Do you remember? People were foaming at the mouth. Not a good thing. But they've got another. They do this keynote thing about once every 6 months, and it's coming up on the 16th of April. Now, they live stream it, usually on YouTube. And what we do is we go into our private chat room and we watch it on YouTube and we chat. I think the consensus last time was, when we discussed this, the last time we went live, which was marooned, wasn't it? I mentioned this coming up. So it's a text chat while we're all watching the same thing. Think of it as a watch party. And I remember at least 2 people saying they'd be listening with the sound off. They didn't enjoy it last time. It's a little OTT, but it is when we will find out new things. One of those new things, since they released the original version 3, and they said the iPad app would be coming within a few months, I think this qualifies as a few months. Time will tell, but it might be that day. But if you would like to watch that on your own device whilst chatting with the rest of us live during the session, then join us. And I'll send the information out for that to my VIP list. So make sure you subscribe to the VIP list. Link is on the screen. So you get the invitation. We do have a lot of fun, don't we? Giggling away at what's going on. And they usually, at the end of it, have a song and dance. I'm not even joking. And it's so comical to see the more mature heads of department attempting to join in with the dad dancing. So although it might not be to your taste, at least I can guarantee you'll have a giggle. I promise you'll have a giggle. So, Annie's saying it was more of a torture session. It wasn't great, was it? It was quite long. And I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it entertaining, but it was entertaining in a kind of Gen Alpha way, rather than, I would say, that the demographic who are using Affinity. So it's clearly intended for the youngsters using Canva rather than the more mature of us using Affinity. Let's just say that. And the other thing is they always leave the Affinity bit till the end. So you've sat through the rest of it. And one of the things that usually happens, and if it happens this time, I'm going to get a little award for you, Mike. But what they do is they announce something that they've added to Canva. And it will be something spreadsheet related. And the words will be uttered, Excel killer. And Mike will be sitting there, won't you? Laughing like a hyena. Yes. Nothing is going to kill Excel, but keep trying. It's fun to see you try. So don't miss that on the 16th of April. Other than that, we've got Easter coming up and some other stuff coming up. And I'll let you know what's going on and what's happening on the list. Right, okay. Oh, hello. Ms. Chappie has just woken up. You know, watch the replay. Excellent. Oh, Jammy's saying, Eve, as a 12-year-old, you wouldn't have been able to stomach it. It wasn't... I've seen worse, believe it or not, Jammy. I have seen worse. What? I think it was the last one that you didn't watch. So it was possibly the one where they'd taken Affinity over. And they had this kind of elevator thing on the stage, pretending to go from floor to floor. Right, so literally, they got in this elevator and the doors open. They got in, doors closed. They pressed a button and all of that. And all I could see, and I know it's an age thing, was Grace Brothers. Did you see that one, Mike?
Don't think so.
Grace Brothers was in Are You Being Served, which was a 70s comedy from the UK, and it was. Let's just say it was of its time. It's terribly dated now, but this thing that they did was so similar to it. And then at the end of that one, they were all dressed in shiny clothes, a bit like the Smash Men, again from the 70s, but psychedelically shiny clothes. And they all did a dance. And I'm thinking, I'm clearly too old for this. But, it's worth watching because you will get the latest information from them. Usually what happens is the information or maybe even a press release is released just before the event. So a lot of the chat, people have only got half an eye on the event. So what happened when they released version 3 was version 3 arrived 40 minutes before the event started. And I'd downloaded it and I'd installed it and I was using it. So in the chat, it was like, I can't find this. Where's that gone? Because it was literally brand new. It was literally brand new. So if there is something new, they are a little bit like Apple in terms of, and it's available today. They're not going to stand there, I don't think, and tell you it'll be available in time for Christmas. If they are talking about it that day, it's usually available straight away. Even if you don't enjoy the style of presentations, and I do understand that, it's probably worth going because sometimes they have like 5,000, not exactly licenses, but seats for the new features. And you need to be in straight away with your Canva account. So before the thing even starts, log in with your Canva account and be poised ready. I remember you were doing a 3-hour Excel session when one of them was on. And it was one of these, we've only got 5,000 seats. So I logged in and I grabbed one of these seats. And it said, like, you're number 384. No, 3,804. And I thought, oh, good grief, by the time Mike's finished, there won't be any left. So I then went on his machine and I logged in as him and I got him a seat. So it is worth turning up just in case there's something like that happening. So I'm not saying you might enjoy it, you might not, but you will have a giggle. I promise you'll have a giggle. Oh, Renee was in love with Miss Brahms. I remember when she joined EastEnders and I couldn't believe that it was the same actor, but it was. She was great. She was great. I don't remember seeing that many episodes, but the one that got me was the one they used to call Young Mr. Grace. And obviously it was a running joke. Young Mr. Grace was about 93, and he had this nurse who would give anybody a heart attack. Trust me. She was very, very pretty. And shall we say the clothes were a little bit on the skimpy side. And he was young Mr. Grace. And every time she came in, his heart monitor would start going. Like I said, it was of its time. It was. But the way they'd done this stage where they went from floor to floor was literally the same. And all I could think, I could hear the music in my head, the theme tune to the darn thing. Right, okay then. So I am going to head off. Have I got a sausage roll?
Yeah.
Oh, I have got a sausage roll. I'm very lucky. If you're wondering what that's all about, if you've never been with us before, we did a session on laying out a recipe for sausage rolls. And Mike had actually made sausage rolls, and we had one live at the end. There were crumbs all over the place, weren't there? And I was chomping away on it quite happily. And that's what's going to happen after the event. Right, okay then. So I will be back with you soon. Probably the next thing's going to be either something Apple-ish or it's going to be the Canva event. But either way, you will find out in the newsletter. But for the moment, it is good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.